Okay, welcome. This is the first. This is the first module of the financial literacy workshop. So I thought I'd begin by giving you some insight into what this workshop's all about. So this is really about understanding common financial language. That's the first thing. And through that understanding and through understanding the model for financial literacy, hopefully it'll change some of your paradigms about money and potentially even your relationship with money. It's going to then provide us a context for setting practical and achievable goals to help you create a wealthy life. Now, what's this not about? This is not about budgeting, and it's not about preaching to you that you've got to do a budget and manage and plan a budget, because that's a big obstacle for a lot of people, and some people are good at it and some people just are naturally not good at it. It's also not about being able to read financial statements or balance sheets and detailed financial analysis. It's not about how to win in the stock market, how to pick and time stocks. And it's not about going on a financial diet where I'm going to preach to you that, you should defer everything that you want to do in your life today for a better tomorrow. I think there has to be a balance between the two, between your present self and your future self. And, those are very personal decisions. So what motivated me? When I finished school in my early 20s, I went to this workshop by a guy named Graydon Waters, who was a fantastic speaker. He wrote a book called Financial Pursuits. And one of the first things that he showed me was a chart. And the chart showed that if somebody had had the foresight to invest $1,000 on my behalf just before I was born and put it into the entire United States stock market, that money would have been worth just over $17,000 at the time of the workshop. And so I looked at that and thought, oh my gosh, that's staggering. That's incredible. Like, the money multiplied 17 times. Too bad nobody had the foresight to do that on my behalf. Now, I went a little bit further recently and I kind of looked at, what's the growth rate of the US market since that time? Well, in fact, since 1994 till the early part of this year, the stock market grew at a compounded rate of return of just over 9%. That's including, reinvesting every year, never touching it, just leaving it alone through the ups and downs. And so that $17,000 in 1994, if I had just kept it in the stock market, assuming I had it in the first place, would now be worth about $120,000. Well, so think about it this, $1,000 left in the US stock market, untouched, unfazed by any of the ups and downs, today, 50 years later, would be worth about $120,000. That's 120 times the amount of money in that time. So I know what you're thinking, and I thought the same thing, which is, well, what about inflation? How much does that buy now versus $1,000 back in 1964? Well, the one thing that I do when I want to check price discrepancy and price changes from time to time or country to country is I go to McDonald's and I look at prices. And in 1960, you could buy a cheeseburger for about 20 cents. And today, you can buy that cheeseburger for about $1. And so there's really only been a 5 times increase in overall price, at least for a McDonald's cheeseburger, in the last 50 years. So if you think about this, $1,000 back in 1964 could have bought you 5,000 cheeseburgers. And of course, today, that $120,000 could buy you almost 120,000 cheeseburgers. That's almost a 24-time increase in purchasing power. That's really compelling stuff.
It's revolutionary.
That's exactly what it is. It's revolutionary.
So that is some of what motivated me, and I hope you find that motivating as well. I do want to tell you a little bit about me. The first thing is, I'm not in the financial industry, and I've never worked in the financial industry. And I hope in some ways you think of that as a positive, at least in the context of this workshop. That is, you're hearing about this from somebody who has this perspective of being in your seat. somebody who learned this through trial and error, somebody who learned this through a strong interest, obviously, of navigating the world of personal finance for his own family. Second is, I have no idea what the stock market's going to do today, tomorrow, next year, the year after that. And in many ways, I don't really care. And hopefully, through this workshop, you'll start to develop an appreciation of why I just said that I don't really care. Related to that, I'm not a stock picker or a stock timer. I may as well be throwing darts on the wall to pick stocks. And the last thing is, I think I became financially literate in my late 30s, which unfortunately for me is about 15 to 20 years later than I wish I had become financially literate. And part of that is not making some of the mistakes that I made, and hopefully some of the mistakes that you can avoid because you're investing your time in this. Anyways, that's a brief overview of the motivation for this workshop. I hope you continue on this journey with me. Before I leave you, I do have one question for you. And hopefully you can share your answers or at least give it some thought, which is, if you were gifted with $100,000 today, what would you do with it? Anyway, until next time, I'll see you later. Take care.